Welcome to the Mentor Podcast, where the most highly motivated entrepreneurs come to get their weekly dose of financial stability with host Ron LeGrand, as well as other nationally recognized thought leaders who will teach you how to get, grow, and protect your wealth.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another broadcast of the Mentor Podcast. I have beside me here Mr. Jerry Green, who hails from Dayton, Ohio, and has been around a long, long time. And I'm going to let him tell you what's going on in his world. And before I do that, you should know that he and I go back quite a ways now. And Dayton, Ohio is the first place that I did a boot camp. We had 9 people in it in 1991. We spent 5 days on in a boot camp from 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, and 3 of them were on a bus, if you can just imagine that. No way I can do that today. So tell us what's going on in your world and what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, well, thanks, Ron, for the introduction. I appreciate that. And it's always good to be with a fellow native of Springfield and Dayton. And of course, you know that, I mean, that's where I grew up, was in Springfield. So, but you know, guys,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, but because I remember you used to work at the gas station there. So
I used to run a gas station. It was Ohio station. Few people will remember that. And by the way, I'm not from there. My wife is. I lived up there 10 years before I decided to come back to Florida, sir. So, just saying. Sometimes I wonder why people live up there in the frozen tundra. I don't think they don't have to.
That is so true. Well, it's funny.
I had wreckers at that time, 3 wreckers. And man, we used to pray for 20 below zero because it was nonstop. We had to tow people in just to thaw their out. They had to sit there for 2 days. Yeah.
Well, that's how you made a lot of money back then on that.
What's the definition of a lot of money? I don't know.
Well, that's how you kept the lights on, right?
Yeah. I say this. I use this comparison a lot. You and I and all of our folks can actually just wholesale one house and make as much money as most people do working all year long, swapping dollars for dollars. 2 houses at the most. And I guess the rest of the world is not going to find that out because they just don't know to look, or they don't care.
Yep.
But my life back then and my life now, who would know? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree on that. It's funny. When I was saying there, Ron, we let's see. So it was 1994 when I got started in the business. So
really?
that was my first year in the business. Over in Springfield, actually, is where I started at. And the reason I got started in it was I went to a seminar in Cincinnati, Ohio, with Charles Gibbons.
Do you remember
him?
I do. Indeed.
So I can need my glasses on sometimes now. You know how that goes. So I started. That was my first year in the business. But then right after that, I got started. I think it was probably within a year of that time when I really started hammering things down. Is I went to your boot camp, and you actually done one in Springfield. And what it was, you had an event in Springfield, then the event was actually in Dayton. So, but I went to that, and so that's how I really started cranking things up. After I went to your boot camp, we went out on the bus and done the whole thing. And then prior to that, Ron, back in 80s, up to that point of before I got into real estate, I was actually in the electrical contracted business with my dad. And over in Springfield. And then I had a large general contractor that we done a lot of work for, basically folded his doors one day and say, "Hey, Jerry, I'm not going to be able to pay you." And there I go. And then I was out of business. So, and I ended up going bankrupt and trying to figure out what I was going to do next. And that's when I started studying real estate, went to that seminar, went to yours. And I thought, well, heck, I'm going to go out and make this happen. But I looked at it this way, Ron. I said, look, I got to take care of the family. And the best way I knew to get things cranking then was go out this find deals, wholesale them to someone else, and just make that chunk money coming in. And that's how I started doing it. That was like, say, 29.
You got a Springfield story. Now I get one. Okay. And then we're going to get down to business. I was operating a Ohio station there. I was what they called a consignment manager. I got paid a commission on everything, except I had to have all my own tools and equipment. I had 3 wreckers. Okay. So I take a vacation down here in Florida, and I go back. They had somebody else in the station managing it, and they closed it within the next 30 days, along with 200 other stations throughout Ohio, just like that. So I had three wreckers and I got all that stuff back, but put me in a tizzy, and I decided to move down to Florida. I went out there one day and took a sledgehammer to break the ice in the bathtub so I could feed my hogs. And I said to myself, "You idiot, what's a Florida boy like you doing up here in this mess?" I swear, a month later, I was back in Florida where I have been all my life, except for that 10 years where my wife.
That's too funny. I remember.
It closed me up, man. No warning or nothing.
I remember a lot of those Ohio stations. I remember one right on Main Street there. I don't know if did you work in that one? Oh no, East Main Street.
College and Lime.
Oh yeah. I know exactly where that was at. So
right
that's too funny.
Brian Stadler.
Yeah.
They put that overpass there. It kind of killed our gas business. That's why I should have it down.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
All right, let's get to work. You're going to talk about acquisitionists today, right?
Yes. Yeah. We can definitely hit on that, Ron. So.
All right. 2 things you got to master is generating quality leads and mastering the closing call. And if they really want to grow, then they're going to have to get an acquisitionist pretty quick, who basically does everything that our students are trained to do, so that we can stand back and grow our business without having to be sucked up into minutia. So you are an expert on that subject, so I'd like to pick your brain on all the things that you would be asked. What do acquisitionists do? Where do we find them? How do we pay them? What are all that stuff that everybody else would ask?
Sounds good.
And when do we need one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, we can. Let's do it. So I think what's that, Ron?
Why and when do I need one?
Oh, so I think what people have to learn is that when you have to look at this here, and what I look at is you have a lot of limiting factors within your business, in this real estate business. You start growing it, and I look at this business. It's almost like an assembly line approach. And you have all these people, these different stations along your assembly line. And I always think that if you're in a position where you're going to scale this out, if you're in a position where you're doing acquisitions, you're doing marketing, you're doing transaction coordinating, if you're doing, let's say you're wholesaling, you're doing dispositions, or if you're managing, overseeing rehabs, you're going to be in all these boxes. So what happens on that, as soon as you get to the point, what I really look at, you start cranking on 3-4 deals a month on things, you start to reach a capacity of things, a limitation on that. And what happens is if you don't do that, I always compare it to the plumber or the electrician or HVAC guy that I see out there that I've known for 30 years. They all got one truck, and they never grew this thing out to a real company. What they did was they always stayed in that one position there, just being the technician. So you got to make a decision. Once you get to that point, you reach a capacity, you got to say, hey, you know what? I really want to grow this, but the only way you're going to be able to grow this is start letting go. And one of the areas you got to let go of is be in the position where you got to realize that you got to let go of that sales position, because you think a lot of times, well, nobody else can do it because nobody's better than me at it. And that's such crap, because what you can learn on this is that sales is actually done proper. There's a process behind it, and a process starts creating predictable results. And that's what you can go in and start training people on. And that's what we've done over the years. And we've built that out. So we create a sales process that I could literally take a pizza delivery guy, Ron, and then with 90 days, have him closing deals, and then continue to grow that over and over again, because I'm continuing training and stuff like that. So don't limit your business because you think you're too good.
Can I stop you there for a minute?
Yeah.
We got so busy telling stories, we forgot to what you're doing. What's your business look like today?
Yeah. So we've done over the years, Ron, when I first started, I went just directly into wholesaling. Started after that, I went into fix and flip model, done a ton of fix and flips. I got into buy and hold too. I've done some multifamily, done some commercial stuff like General Dollar, Family Dollar stores, and then even built out a turnkey rental company, which I hated. That was one of the worst decisions I ever made, was get involved in that. And so I got rid of that thing. Property management, that stinks, guys. I can tell you that. It's like, yeah. As you would always say, it's like, I'd rather pour gasoline on myself. So, and
I've done both of those, and I've come to the same conclusion. Both of them.
Yes, yeah, 100%. So I built that up, and I just got to the point over those years that, through a lot of different trials and stuff, I just come to the point where I realized that I wanted to build a true company, and I basically set it up where I hired a COO. She's been with me now 10 years, and she runs the day-to-day operations. We do multiple deals every single month, and it becomes like a production process. And what it's allowed me to do, Ron, is not be actively involved in the day-to-day side of things. So on the real estate side, I spend probably 2-3 hours a week involved in that, just on higher end meetings. And she runs that side of things. And we have an acquisitions team, dispositions, and all that. So we still wholesale a lot. I still take some down to buy and hold. And now my sons are getting involved in the business too. They're getting old enough, and so we're starting to do some deals there as well. So that's kind of a short version of 29 years, guys. And over those 29 years, as you know, Ron, too, we've had many horror stories of major mistakes I've made, and millions of dollars out the door, and but at the same time, tons of knowledge. So
you're scaring my folks. You're scaring my folks to have to death. What you just mentioned is training. That's what they call it. Yeah.
Yes.
Frankly, all of us.
That's those are all learning lessons. Training. Yeah. In fact,
So when do you think one should get an acquisition? Okay, I come into the business. I haven't done any deals yet. Does it make any sense to get an acquisitionist?
Yeah, I think once you get up to doing about somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 deals or so a month, I think you need to go ahead and start looking at that, because otherwise that's your hinging point of really going to the next level, start building out to start to scale it.
So what you're saying is I need to do it myself a few times, or I'll not be able to train an acquisitionist to do something that I don't know how to do.
Yeah, I think it's really important for you to understand it. It doesn't mean, I think a lot of people believe you have to do it for years, and that's not true. You just have to be in the position where you understand it, and then you can start bringing in salespeople on that. So you don't, I always preach this: don't think you can't build your business and grow it sooner, because that's a myth for most people. They think they got to do something for 30 years or 10 years before they take it up a notch, and that's not true.
Agreed. Agreed. But you know what we're talking about applies to any business. It's actually nothing more than replace yourself as soon as you possibly can and get out of your own way, so you have time to focus on growing your business instead of the daily minutia.
100%.
But that will require people. Now, your acquisition, how many acquisitionists do you have?
We have 2 full-time.
2 full-time?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Are they employees then?
Yes.
Okay. So actually on your payroll. Another question I get a lot. And you're not going to get away without putting them on your payroll unless you make them truly a partner of some sorts.
Yeah. I've done it both ways. And what I've learned on that over the years is that if you bring someone in and they haven't never, if they're in a position where they've never really been on 1099 before, and you put them on 1099, you're really doing them a disservice, because they have no idea how to handle that.
Right. Plus, the truth is, if they're on 1099, there's 20 things that you have to comply with based on the IRS to not be an employee. And the first one is, if you tell them how to do their job, they're an employee.
Exactly. Yep.
Now, but after saying that, I have one acquisitionist, and he truly is a partner. because I want to talk about how you pay yours, but in my case, I give him half of all the front end money that we collect, either on a wholesaling or on a rehab or on a terms non-refundable option deposit. I give him half of it, which some people would say is quite a bit, but without him, I'm not going to get the other half. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, I'm willing to live with that. Of course, I pay for all the advertising and any of the other expenses. I don't pay for little things like gas and cell phone and all that, because in other words, I just put him in business for itself. So there's two ways to handle this, and I've done them both ways as well. So you hire your people. Where would you say is a good place to go look for applicants to be an acquisitionist?
Well, what we've done, Ron, is we actually market a lot, just like on Indeed and places like that. But also what I've found was we have some pretty good success with going into one local Facebook groups in the areas that we want to have people in. Okay. Like community groups. And then another thing we found as well is just going out and talking to people like at car dealerships, places like that. Because you look at this; those are people used to longer hours. They're used to talking to a lot of people, and in this business, I mean, look, you've got to talk to a lot of people. It's just that's just the way it is. And so, if somebody's in a position where they're wimpy about hey, I don't want to talk to a bunch of people. I don't want this. I get a lot of people too that says, hey, I only want to work certain hours. And that's it. Yeah. And I just tell them, I said, look, if you're going to work certain, just very clear banker's hours and sales, then really that equals broke salesperson. Okay. So
that's true. Absolutely true. So in other words, you don't particularly want to hire people who start dictating the terms before they're even hired. Is that what you're saying?
100%. Yep.
Okay. I'll tell you where I found a good place to get them at. Now, they got to be sociable. They got to have a great attitude, and they got to not be afraid to talk to people and not be afraid of what these people say to them. When I'm looking, I simply go out to eat at some restaurants around town. When the servers come to me and they do an excellent job, I say, hey, are you happy here? I just have a little, I start them out as a caller. See, I don't think we have to have a full-time acquisitionist in the beginning, but I do think that these folks that won't make those calls need a caller. That's all they need to do is make the calls, fill out the PI sheet, hand it over to our principal. And I tell them, listen, this is just a part-time little thing, 3 hours a week. You don't have to change your job or anything. And then if you get to like what I do, then we'll talk about that later. But I find people that are in restaurants, not all of them now.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that work in restaurants don't want to be there. And I used to own 6 of them, and I'm going to tell you right now, everybody that works in a restaurant is always looking for a job. So I find it not hard to talk to. And by the way, I like people who work for a collection company too.
Yeah,
Jerry, think about what they do all day.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Call people, turn down, get hung up on, all that. Yeah. So if they can do that, they can certainly be an acquisitionist. In fact, I think they can be trained very, very quickly.
I totally agree.
Okay, so how you pay your acquisition?
So we do a small base, okay, and then we do commissions based upon the actual profit from the transaction itself, and we do a base and that side of things. Now, Ron, one thing we've done is and I think a lot of you that are watching this, obviously you've got to build this up to your business and stuff. But as we've built things up, we've added a few things, like we even added benefits for our people. So we have insurance and stuff now too that we carry for those people. So, but you got to remember, we've been doing this a long time. We've built that up and stuff. But I just find that it helps in your retention. Okay. And
sure.
We offer bonus structures too, Ron. And what we know on the bonus structures, we do it as a team. So that way the whole team is working together and they succeed together or they lose together. So,
well, I've always done the same way. Right now, my whole team is my acquisitionist and my executive assistant who does everything else for me as well. So I don't have, how big is your team right now, Jerry?
Oh, let's see. We got, I think we're right around 10 total.
10 total? Okay.
Yep.
How long did it take you to start hiring employees after you started?
Well, I waited way too long on that. I can tell you that. But I'm probably in the first, 3 years. I done a lot of myself. My wife and I just total grind, how that is, nonstop. And so
Yep.
probably in the about 3 years into it, but if I looked at it and I get a lot of people ask me, Ron, this all the time. Hey, what would you do if you could go back and tell your younger self when you first started in the business? I said, well, day one, I would have started looking at this as a real business, not just being a deal chaser.
Right. Agreed. In other words, become a real estate entrepreneur instead of a real estate investor.
100%, Ron. 100%.
Yeah. But you know what? Same thing, man. I worked 2 years by myself. I mean, calls were coming into my house, destroying my life at all hours of the day and the night. And so I went out and I bought me a little shopping center, a little 2-unit shopping center, and I used one for my office and rented out the other and paid for the whole thing. And my first executive assistant was my daughter. She was 16 years old, and I got her because she worked cheap. and then I started moving up. One time I had 10 or 12 people on the staff, but honestly, we're talking to a lot of folks right now that are even worried about that. I got to have employees and all that. No, you don't.
No.
Today, look, 2 key employees, in my opinion. First, I think a personal assistant, because I think your personal assistant can act as your acquisitionist until you get around to getting an acquisitionist. And in my opinion, your personal assistant ought to be the one that interviews the acquisitionist and see if they even want to work with them.
100% agree on that, Ron.
I suck at hiring, so I don't do that. I haven't done.
Me too.
Okay. I got females running the company, so that helps. They got this. I don't know what they got, but whatever it is, I don't have it. I truly think you don't even need to be looking for an acquisitionist until you've done a few deals. But I also think that doesn't mean you can't get a caller to make those calls, because I run across a lot of people that honestly would rather have a root canal than call sellers. They're so afraid of what stuff they're going to say until they get trained well. You can't have this business if you don't talk to people. So
that's you're exactly right. Something that stuck with me for years and years. And one thing you taught me back in the 90s, you always used to say this, was I never bought a deal that I didn't make an offer on.
That's true. That's true. Today we ask the sellers to make us offers, but within we do have to approve them. Okay. All right. I know you. Can you tell me how you pay your acquisitionists, or is that a trade secret or something?
No, not at all. So what we typically do on that, when they first come in, Ron, we're typically doing it on a 90-day period where they're being trained heavily on that side. So we're going heavier on the base. So typically on the base side of things, we're doing somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $4,000 a month on the base, and usually about 6% or so on the sales on the back end. Okay. And when I'm talking about the sales, it's not the total sale of the property, it's the margin on the deal. Okay. So that's really clear, important for people to understand that as they build up, the goal is to get them up in the neighborhood of a 10 to 12% commission side, and then take the base down to just around 1,000 or so a month on that side. And the only reason we give them the base is because we have a lot of meetings that we have run, like daily pulse meetings, our huddle meetings. And we want to make sure that we're paying them for non-sales time. Okay. So it's kind of like a drip on that side of things. So that's how we do that.
Also, there are many states where you can't pay them a commission, even if they're on your payroll. So you have to call it something else. Now,
yes,
you're paying them $1,000 a month. I don't know how you justify. What do you call that extra you pay them? You don't call it a commission, do you?
No. We just look at it really as a performance fee.
Bonus.
Yeah. Performance fee. Yeah.
You take out taxes on whatever they make, right?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, everything's done right. We just do it. We do it that way because what we learned too, Ron, was that this is through a lot of hard knocks too. But
break it up. How long will you pay them before you realize they're the wrong choice?
We will typically be in a position where we pretty well know within 45 to 60 days is where we will know in that period of time. Okay. We've got it dialed in pretty good on our onboarding process where we know where they reach certain milestones in the training, and then we start getting them on the phones. And then what we do is we have a very detailed sales process that we follow. And if they're in the position where they're just skipping all the parts of the sales process and they're not and they're not intentionally trying to apply it, then it's like we consider our sales training the best there is in the country. And if you're not applying it, then that means that you don't care.
Right. They won't follow instructions. They're just not going to work out.
100%.
So as a leader, we have to make up our mind, and we have to have a little patience with them and spend some time with them to get them trained. Unlike a lot of entrepreneurs do, they put them in a chair and say, do it, and then they fire them when they don't do it. somebody else. And in addition to that, you must have a list of tasks that you want them to do that you 100%. Go over before you hire, correct?
Yep. Yeah, we do. Okay. We actually, this is something we can share with really, I think all your listeners and really like this. But what we've learned is that we break up our onboarding process into 3 sections. Okay. Number 1 is we look at is our, we do sales training, which is my sales training platform that I own. And I use it for all my team members, all my students. So they go through the sales training. But also, secondly, we train them on operational sides of things when it comes to an acquisitionist. So they have to understand how to put things in the CRM, how to pull comps, all these things. Because you can train people on sales, but if they don't get the operational side, then they can screw up a deal that way. Okay. And then the third component we do is we train them on contract presentation. Because a lot of people, what will happen is they might understand all these other parts, but you think about it, and this comes from past experience, guys. When you get somebody trained, a salesperson, and they put a deal together, but they can't explain the contract to somebody. And then next thing you know, you're going to closing, and the seller's at the closing pissed off because the tax proration's wrong.
Yeah. And some people are so deathly afraid of those contracts, they just won't do anything. I don't know why. What the hell is blanks you fill in? What's the worst going to happen? The seller goes away. What's the worst going to happen? You ain't going to die for crying out loud. And incidentally, I'll tell you what I learned. Nobody comes into this business and is able to fill out a contract correctly the first time.
Oh, 100%.
We're going to have to learn, especially when it comes to my terms deals, which I specialize in. And all cash contract, pretty easy to fill out. Yep. Jerry, I got to know, how are you getting enough leads to support 2 of these acquisitions?
So we do several different marketing channels at once, and we constantly do that all the time. Now, I've been doing direct mail for over 20 years and nonstop, and that's still a great resource for us, but it's changed a lot, though, especially in the last several years. We've had to adjust to that more and become more focused towards what we call like an avatar of an actual client. So we've got what our ideal candidates. We do that. We do pay-per-click. We do some also some like Facebook marketing and some cold calling. So those are kind of our main marketing channels that feed our funnel on things.
Which one works the best?
Our direct mail is still our best performer.
Okay. Who do you mail to, and what is it, a postcard or an envelope?
So we do a mixture of letters and postcards, depending on the list, Ron. Okay. For example, if it's someone that inherited a property, we find that letters work better because we're it's a touchier subject, and it's a message that we want to be more to them in regards to a connection with them on it more versus just the broad message. So we do letters typically on that, and then we're doing postcards for our others. And what we do is we do a lot of, obviously we've always hit absentee owners and stuff like that for a lot of our wholesale transactions. But then we will do, for some of our other deals, we'll do lists in regarding, just maybe a certain amount of equity into a deal, or somebody that's in a pre-foreclosure type candidate. Those are better. Can be some good creative finance deals as well. As long as they're not too far behind, we can bring those current. I got right now, I'm like, my team's working on one. We got, and we're in Ohio. Most of our deals are done here, but I got one in North Carolina I'm working on where a guy's moving, right now. He's been in the military, he's moving, and the same old thing. He's got 2 homes now. So we're just looking at taking over the one home in North Carolina, create financing and then lease option it out to someone. So.
Oh, so you do lease options, huh?
Oh yeah. We don't do them on a big
I'm
level.
Glad to hear that. So you don't sell everything you get.
Yeah, we sell a big percentage of them, but we'll still do some creative deals like that, Ron. So, but that's our main.
Good.
So we constantly look at the lead flow coming in, and then what we understand, Ron, is once we have the lead flow coming in, then we know through our numbers, and this is a big thing, guys, as you grow your business. And I don't care if you're just starting off. You guys need to understand your numbers, and you need to understand what actions do you have to take on acquisitions to get to the point of a conversion. And you need to understand those steps. And when you understand those steps, then you can start. See, that's another big thing too, Ron, as you look at hiring someone, you have to understand what the actions are that person you're going to hire has to do to get the result that you want them to. And you got to understand that first.
Yeah.
So
you bet. Do you have an outside company doing your direct mail?
We do. Yeah, we do. We've been
okay. So they do everything, even probably provide you with the list. You just got to pick the ones you want, or let them do it.
My in-house team holds the list and decides what we're going to market to. But then that we just because I have a bigger team, and so they're able to go through process and then go ahead and plan out the whole next month's marketing, and then we outsource everything to be done by the marketing company.
Hey, when I got my acquisitionist, he was doing something that I hadn't thought of before. He was getting a list of the people who forcibly had their water shut off from the city.
Oh yeah, that's a good list.
Yeah, worked pretty good, I think.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that we do that we've over the years I've tried so many different things, but we always have somewhere between 4 to 5 channels going at once to keep the lead flow coming in, and then
and so should everyone else. Never depend on just one. One's the first number.
No.
Yeah.
No, not it's, and then some of your listeners here, if they're just starting out, I just say, look, get to the point where, the best thing you can do is you just understand what your marketing budget is. Know that marketing budget. And then once you know that, you can figure out how to apply that. And what we always look at is if we can get somewhere in the neighborhood of a 5x return on that marketing channel, that's what we're looking at, 5x or more on that marketing channel. So if I go out and I'm putting, depends on your marketplace too, a little bit, you might be able to do a little better. But like in Ohio here on things, if we're putting out somewhere around $20,000 a month of marketing, we're going to want to see $100,000 to $120,000 a month coming in off of that.
So 5 times what you spend at least.
Yes. Yep. That's what we look at on things, Ron.
That makes sense. But just listeners, you don't have to spend $20,000 a month. Don't let him scare you here.
No. Yeah. I mean, some of you might be in a position where you got $2,000 to spend. But the interesting thing, if you're doing just the $2,000, you guys will find out that a lot of times you can turn around and that $2,000 might make you $10,000 a month or more.
And then you start stepping it up. You're spending as much as you need to handle the deals that are coming in.
Right.
But you made a point. I teach many ways to get leads free. And then I teach them many ways to get other people to get the leads for you, which is what you're doing for the most part. And combining them the two, don't forget that the free leads combined with the paid leads, you put them together to get your total lead cost. But again, the paid leads are worth way more. You get way more customers. You get them a lot easier, but you have to spend money to get them. So it's a trade-off. You can either spend your time or you can spend some money and let somebody else spend their time to get them for you.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. Well, it's interesting too, Ron, is like I got a guy, my student of mine I'm working with right now. He lives in Pennsylvania, and he was an REO broker for many years. And then when COVID happened, it just wiped him out. And he's about 70 years old right now, and super nice guy. And I trained him on the sales process, and I said, you just got to go out and use the sales process. And so he just started doing that. Now, Ron, his marketing budget right now is zero. But what he's doing, he's going out and talking to people, using all the connections, letting everybody know what he's doing, and applying the sales process. And here he is in Pennsylvania, okay, which is not much different than Ohio here. And his average spread on his deal is $20,000 a pop, and he's been doing 2 or 3 of those a month.
Nothing wrong with that. And we have no advertising. Huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jerry, we are already over time. You got something that you want to offer our folks today?
Yeah. I think that something I'd love to do for everybody is we've got what we call our sales insiders, and it's a membership area. And what I like to do is give everybody a chance on here. And I know you guys all have the link in here and stuff, but I'm going to give everybody a free trial that is part that listens to their show here. And all you guys got to do is register for that. We'll give you a free trial when it comes to that. But what it is, guys, is you're going to see some foundational pieces of my sales process. You're going to see talking about how important emotions are when you're working with the seller. That if you're not tapping into that, you're going to tremendously decrease your ability to convert deals. You're going to see about some of the top questions to ask your sellers. We'll give you a lot of different scripts. And on top of that, we also do 2 live Q&As each month that you can jump on and talk to me or one of my key sales team members. So, but we're going to offer that in there, Ron, and any of your listeners that want to jump on that, we're glad to have them join in and enjoy that.
All right. And that's at thementorpodcast.com/green. GREEN. Okay. I like that sign behind your head.
Yeah, you like that, buddy?
Yeah. Except you're blocking out your own name. And if you're happening to be watching this podcast and you don't know how to get to training from me, just go to thementorpodcast.com. Not better yet, go to ronlegrand.com/terms. And you'll see a whole hour and some odd presentation on what most people call creative financing. We call it the terms business. And both Jerry and I have been through it all. And frankly, he and I have almost a duplicate parallel business, except that I'm older than him. That's all. Jerry, thank you very much. You and I could actually do a podcast on any number of 100 different subjects.
Oh, 100%, Ron. 100%. And
a lot deeper.
I just say too, guys, all you listeners, if you guys haven't listened to Ron a lot, Ron has had more impact on my life than any other trainer out there in this business. And I wouldn't be here today where I'm at without Ron. So I think a lot of him as a friend, and I respect him highly in this business, guys. So if you're serious about things, Ron he's one of the few out there that's not full of crap. Okay. So he knows the business in and out, and he's been around it. So, so Ron, I appreciate you too, man. So,
well, thank you, man. That was a nice thing for you to say. All right. I'll see you on the next podcast about whatever subject comes next.
All right, Ron. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Jerry. Bye.
That's all for this edition of the Mentor Podcast. To connect with Ron and learn how you can attain financial freedom, as well as up-to-date strategies to grow and protect your wealth based on today's discussion, go to www.connectwiththementor.com.